As Israel prepares to invade Gaza in its war against Hamas, there's another front in this conflict, and that's on Israel's northern border. Israel and Hezbollah have been exchanging regular fire here across the border in the biggest escalation of tensions since 2006. Backed by Iran, Hezbollah has said it's fully ready to contribute in the war between Israel and Hamas. Israel has said it is prepared to fight on two fronts, but Hezbollah's ally Iran has warned of far-reaching consequences that could, in its words, engulf the whole region if attacks against Gaza continue. The United States says it has deployed 2 aircraft carrier groups to the eastern Mediterranean to deter any actions against Israel or any efforts towards widening the war. Hezbollah's leader so far has been quiet.
It's unsurprising that Hezbollah has engaged with the Israelis along the Lebanon-Israel border over the last week, given the developments in Gaza. All eyes are on Hezbollah, indeed, to see if they are going to open up the northern front, Israel's northern front, in the coming days. And much will depend, I think, on the actions of the Israelis in Gaza. So if the Israelis stage a full-scale incursion into Gaza, which is expected, then Hezbollah will come under a lot of pressure to escalate the situation along the northern border. But the decision ultimately is with Iran. And I'm not certain that Iran will want to necessarily sacrifice Hezbollah in a massive war, a very destructive war on both sides with Israel for the sake of Hamas. So if the Israelis do move into Gaza, I do expect an escalation of actions along the Lebanon-Israel border, but not necessarily to the scale of a full-on war with the Israelis. The theological system in Iran is the backbone of Hezbollah's ideology, so they're very much connected. Hezbollah is a Lebanese organization, its personnel are Lebanese, but they are beholden to the Iranian theological system. So we have Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, who's the Secretary General of Hezbollah here in Lebanon, but the ultimate leader of Hezbollah is Ali Khamenei, who's the supreme leader of Iran. So the Iranians will set the strategic agenda for Hezbollah, but they do allow Hezbollah to set the day-to-day tactical agenda. It's not only a question of whether the Iranians want Hezbollah to escalate the situation to a full-scale war with Israel. Hezbollah also has to look at its domestic front. So Lebanon over the last 4 years has been in a huge economic collapse. 80% of the population are living below the poverty line. Support for Hezbollah has declined over the years, including amongst its Shia community, Shia Muslim community. If Hezbollah was to drag Lebanon into a very devastating war with Israel, there'd be a huge backlash on the organization afterwards. And I think this is something that Hezbollah takes into account. And I think it's also something that the Iranians take into account when they're calculating how far Hezbollah should go. There are undefined rules of the game that were established in the wake of the 2006 war. So the 2006 war for Hezbollah was a mistake. This war wasn't supposed to happen. They miscalculated the Israeli reaction in the same way that the Israelis miscalculated the enemy they were up against in 2006 and came away with a bloody nose. So since then, in the last 17 years, both sides have stepped back a little bit. There have been actions against each other, but they've been quite limited. So Hezbollah does not want to prod or provoke Israel into another massive campaign against Lebanon. And by the same token, the Israelis have been careful not to provoke Hezbollah because the next war will be of a scale that the Israelis haven't seen since 1948. But now we are very much in uncharted waters since the Hamas raid on southern Israel on October the 7th. So we'll have to see how things develop from here. If the situation reaches a full-scale war between Hezbollah and Israel, it won't be confined to just Hezbollah and Israel. I think we'll see a regional war. Because of the influence that Iran has across the region, we'll see the Syria front opened up. There is Hezbollah on the Syrian territory. There are numerous Iran-backed organizations also in Syrian territory. There are Iran-backed organizations in Iraq that could enter the fray. The Houthis have declared that they're going to enter this. This is in Yemen, of course. The Houthis in Yemen, who are backed by the Iranians, they've declared that they will get involved in a broader conflagration. And we could also see Iran getting directly involved as well. So I think that it has the potential to become a regional war if the Hezbollah-Israel confrontation escalates to a full-scale war. Hezbollah emerged in the wake of Israel's 1982 invasion of Lebanon to drive out the then Palestine Liberation Organization. And Hezbollah became the leading organization to confront the then Israeli occupation of South Lebanon. The Israelis left in 2000. And Hezbollah is an Iran-backed organization that follows the Iranian theological system. And it has emerged over the last 23 years as the predominant political and military player in Lebanon. Of course, many countries in the West classify Hezbollah as a terrorist organization, mainly because of its activities in the 1980s. It was responsible for some of the mass suicide bombings in Beirut against the US Marine barracks, American embassy twice, and the kidnappings of foreigners, of course. In the Islamic and Arab world, it's a slightly different view. They view Hezbollah as a champion of anti-Israel resistance, and although that reputation has receded somewhat in recent years. Usually, Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, Hezbollah's leader, is quite quick to comment on developments across the region, in Lebanon, across the region. He's been very quiet this time, and I think that's partly to keep the enemy guessing, the Israelis, as to Hezbollah's real intentions. But I think it's also down to Hezbollah waiting and seeing how things develop. The few comments that have come from Iranian and Hezbollah officials have been fairly ambiguous. They have raised threats, but they haven't committed themselves to a course of action where there's no off-ramp. So we are in uncharted territory here. And I think Hezbollah, like everybody else, is watching to see how this develops. And their course of action will depend on how the situation develops in the coming days and weeks.